super excited to be here with Tom Ellis, CEO of Brand Genetics. Tom, welcome to Unmatched.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be
On
here.
site at the GIF London event, such an amazing event. Congratulations.
Oh, well, thank you. I have very little to do with it, but it's very kind of you to say.
So, Tom, what do you do?
Well, at Brand Genetics, we basically work with some of the world's leading companies to help them figure out why people do what they do, even if the people themselves can't articulate that or perhaps don't even know it, and use that to help them grow their brands by making them choose their brands, hopefully, instead of somebody else's.
Wow, that's a very big mission. I think every brand and every marketer wants that, right? We all want to get consumers to buy our brand versus our competition.
Yeah.
But it's so complicated, especially in today's marketplace where everything is so fragmented and there's so many options. There's so much noise in terms also of advertising and products available. How do you get consumers to buy your brand versus anyone else's brand?
Well, it is complicated, but the first thing to start with is to stop thinking about consumers. We have to think about people, humans, as we like to call them, because really you're a consumer for such a micro nanosecond of your kind of life. Even if you love a brand, you're consuming it and thinking about it much less than those of us who actually work on the brand. So what we like to do is zoom out, get people to think about what are the human motivations, what are the things driving that person in their lives, and how can you better understand those as a brand and better align to those as a brand than your competitors. Because what we know, what the science tells us, is that when you align your brands to people's positive motivations, their human jobs to be done, if you will, then you're much more relevant. They're much more likely to buy into you, to have a positive response to your brand. And of course, that means that they come back for more. So that makes it sound very simple. It's not, but that's the sort of big theory behind it.
You mentioned humans' jobs to be done.
Yeah.
What is that specifically? What do you refer to?
Yeah, so some of you may know the idea of jobs to be done. Claire Christensen popularized it. And it's really about this idea that we don't buy a product it's the classic case, right? I don't want hand cream, I want beautiful hands. And what we're really saying is we're hiring a brand or a product or a service to help us get ahead, to help us get closer to our goal. Now, when this is applied, a lot of the time, job to be done thinking still becomes quite category focused. It can be quite narrow. It can be, I want this beer because it is going to be refreshing, or I want this packet of crisps because it's going to fill me up, satiate my hunger. Actually, let's zoom out. Let's see what's my human goal. Actually, my human goal with that beer it's about socializing, connecting with people. That's much more human, much less category or brand centric. And so when we zoom out, we see a few things. One, we see more opportunities for innovation and differentiation. So it's exciting. It's much more opportunity rich. And, again, back to my point of we think about these things for so little of our lives, but yet the big goals, the connecting with other people, the achieving things, the deeply human goals, they're the things that really drive us. And they're the things that actually we believe are why you end up standing in that aisle or at that counter or on that website thinking this could be a product that could help me.
I think, and you made such a good point with categorization. In my experience as a marketer, I've seen how in different organizations, different industries, what we end up doing, we end up focusing too much on the category
100%.
That we operate in, and we focus way too much on the competition within our category. So then it becomes a little bit of an echo chamber where we all in the category do the same things, we think in the same way, we create the same kind of products. There's very little innovation. And because we are at the Global Innovation Forum in London, I want to ask you this: how can brands innovate and think outside of their category in order to be not only more innovative, more creative, but also to make sure that they reflect those needs of the consumers that they're reaching out to?
Yeah. Again, it's a great question. And it's a kind of disease often of large corporates, because you tend to put things into categories to help you organize your brands and your portfolios. So I think one of the key factors is that actually can you orient around the job, the human problem, rather than around the category, which, as I say, makes you by default think through a lens of beer, lager, etc., etc. And I think really the way to do it is to put the human being at the center rather than put your product, put your kind of category line, put your customer, who's the retailer, who's the sort of channel you're selling this through. That so often, again, as businesses get bigger, and I understand why, but that so often becomes the central point of discussion. Whereas actually, if people can really think human first, then it becomes much more, I won't say easy to pivot, but it becomes much more easy to recognize that you need to pivot. I'll give you an example. BMW used to talk about itself as a car company, right? And now they're thinking about, we're a company that gets you sort of where you want to be. That suddenly opens up a whole different range of options. Now, people need to be places, but we all know we've got multiple modes of transportation or facilitation that could get there. And that just opens up their innovation vision to me into a much wider sphere.
What I find really interesting, because I'm hearing a lot about this actually here at the event today, this thing about not looking at consumers as users or consumers, but making them human and humanizing, right? Our consumers again. For whatever reason, I think we have dehumanized our consumers, and probably this is why it has led us into this direction of more product focused, feature focused, rather than human led, right?
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about your view on this and how you approach it at Brand Genetics.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. We use all these terms, right? Consumer, use. I mean, use is the worst to many degrees. And they make people into this sort of segment, target, whatever it is, a very narrow understanding of their lives. We are all human beings, right? When we're out and about and not sitting at our desks being marketeers for specific brands, we kind of come into our business and we take off that human hat. So I think terminology has a lot to do with it. It's challenging. Even we talk about, even humans very important to us, but even we talk about consumers often because it kind of syncs with what our clients want. How do you get out of it? I think you have to try and find ways, and we've heard about some of them today, where you can really get up close and personal with your audiences. You can see their wider lives. You don't ask them a question about your product or your category. You ask them about their lives. And you then try and figure out how your brand or your product can fit or help within their lives. What's its role in there? So I think it's about what we would say zooming out and rewinding. And I think because we're human and we all still, even in an age of AI, right, super appreciate that human connection. I think that's the way to really shift minds, is to get into people's lives, get back to more ethnographic approaches, bring people in, talk to them in a much more human way, ditch the guide and just have a chat, and you will learn so much more. And I think that becomes much more emotively powerful rather than just the sort of very rational approach that we often take.
What are you hoping to achieve with the event today? You're also chairman of the Global Innovation Forum. What's the big goal of the event?
Listen, I think the big goal is always to sort of really celebrate and drive forward innovation across all the different people and companies that attend. And we've got a very diverse group. I love the cross-fertilization because we have people coming from big organizations and startups. We have people who have got design backgrounds and insight backgrounds, for example. So there's always great cross-fertilization, cross-category, cross-company. I always want to come here and spread the gospel of innovating in a human way, innovating in a more human-centric way than I think we possibly do at the moment, and to help big corporate organizations get over what I think is the biggest challenge, which is often themselves. How does their behaviors and their cultures hinder innovation, which we all know and the evidence shows is beneficial. There's a reason why the growth in most markets comes from the smaller startup agencies the smaller startup companies rather than the big corporates. And that's because they are seeing things from outside some of the boundaries that we've talked about. They see humans, they don't see categories, they don't see products.
And they want to see disruption, which I guess we're going to leave with
Yes.
that takeaway. We need more disruption. We need to think outside of our category and to think about our consumers as humans because, that's what they are, right?
100%. Think human, put human-centric thinking at the heart of your business, and you will, I believe, have a much richer success in driving growth and driving innovation.
I love that. Thank you so much, Tom.
Thank you, Arna. It's been an absolute pleasure.